and sing it one and all. Join in the chorus, North Melbourne's on the ball. Good old North Melbourne, they're champions, you'll agree. North Melbourne is the team that plays to win for you and me.
Welcome back, Shimboners. On today's pod, we will be reviewing last night's thriller in Hobart and going through all our match notes, all the stats, and unpacking what was a really solid performance. And unfortunately, on the other side of the coin, one that we probably let slip. To help me break it all down, we have Fredo coming back. Frog, how are we?
Well, better than most of the other weeks. At least we're up to a tie. Now I'm just looking for a win.
Yeah.
We're up to a draw, I mean.
Yeah, so both Taswegians, but both didn't make it down. I had a migraine. I reckon it's only the second one I've had in my lifetime. And of course it happened on game day. Well, actually happened the night before, but yeah, no good. But
yeah, we had too much going on. Obviously it's Mother's Day, and that's a priority. And then it's a big trip down and back when if it's a late game, we normally... My Mrs. Frog and I normally stay overnight and couldn't do that with Monday work, so but obviously would have loved to have been there, but then it'd be just what if for the 2.5 hour drive home, isn't it? But it was a good performance though. Pretty good.
So we'll get to our biggest takeaways as we always start the pod, and I've got about 3, so I'll go my first one, then go to you, and then go to a couple more. But my biggest takeaway from yesterday's performance is it's not being talked about. We've got the recruit of the year. I'm happy to go there. Show me someone who's joined a club that's had a bigger impact than what Luke Parker has had on our football club, because playing with a broken rib, you can lock him in for 20 and a goal each week. He's been awesome. Another 8 or so tackles for him yesterday, and he's just been incredible. And I think he's outperformed. He's definitely outperformed what I thought he was going to do. Like, I thought he'd be good, but he'd be top 3 easily in our best and fairest. And he's been consistent. I don't think he's played a poor game.
Yep, I agree 100%. I was all over him when we got him, but he's probably had more midfield than what I thought he would, but he deserves it. And he's I just agree with what you said. So you go again with your next one.
And he's kicking goals. Well, my other one, 2 of 3. I think if Paul Curtis plays those last 2 games, we'll win them both.
Yep.
And I think a lot of supporters, I'm not breaking earth-shattering news here. I mean, a lot of people would agree, but it's just so frustrating that band got upheld, because we win both games if we have him in our forward line.
Yeah, even if he's has an offish game, he's such a tough matchup, isn't he? Like, we've talked about him a lot, but they can basically like do it all, more or less, yeah.
And he's been getting high possessions as well, getting up the ground.
He doesn't have the different structure. He's not having to. He used to have to fly for marks a bit other years, which sometimes he was the only one out. He can do that, but he's getting a bit more of the ground ball stuff as well. He's contested sort of one-on-one. Yeah,
and point 3 for me, which that panned to a lot during the call, but Angry Clarko's back. I reckon Toddy Viney might have just had him by the wrist underneath the desk, because I reckon he was about to punch a few holes in there.
Early up, he got up and shook his head. He just shook his head, I think, and a bit of the commentator pointed out not enough John Longmire covering the mouth up so that people can read it. But then the next time he got up and walked away, I thought, here we go. Well, he's looking for a wall.
Yeah.
But anyway.
But
don't mind it. He's passionate. That means he's not just thinking, throw the hands back. But
well, since he's made that statement of dropping Core and Logue after the Good Friday pathetic performance, we've looked a different team.
Yeah, you can't just roll with the same ones. You've got to make it. It has to be same. You can't drop 8 though. Like you hear people, that just disrupts everything too much. But I think you could say that was the right call, definitely.
But looking at Chom's post game interview yesterday, he was talking about how the whole team's bought in defensively and the midfielders are running back, and you can see that. And
in the last couple of weeks, Chom's been leading that really well and brilliant again yesterday.
Well, his best game of the year. Yeah. I know he's great in that Melbourne game, but
this was better.
He was magnificent, and really is emerging as the leader of the back line back there, and then it just reflects, like, Brisbane have probably got the most dynamic forward line. Well, you could argue the Giants, I reckon. They're probably the top 2 for me. And to keep them to 71 points with scores of under 100 the previous 2, the back line's functioning a lot better, and I think the midfield are working harder defensively as well.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a buy-in there for sure. Is that your last one?
That's 3 or 3.
I've just got one. It's just the obvious one. We're sitting at home watching, thinking, do you think we can get through 30 seconds without the opposition kicking a goal? What do you reckon happened? It took 25. It's laughable, but it's so frustrating. Like, Yeah.
Well, that segues perfectly into our match notes because that was the first one I had. 25 seconds it was. And then in that first quarter, we kicked one straight. They kicked 2-3. They won the first two clearances out the front of the stoppage, and you just thought, oh, God, this is going to be ugly. But we fought it back. I want to put out to Nike, Adidas, Reebok, whoever the foot sponsor is, the shoe sponsor for Tom Powell, can we get the man some long stops? Because he fell over about 4 times in the first probably 8 minutes.
He did. That does seem to happen at Bill Reeve a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, it just seems the last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
it's been,
him especially, but yeah, we've seen it a bit down there.
I don't know how you fix it.
No.
He just keeps losing his footing, which is, you're not deliberately doing it, so it's really frustrating. But
we're doing negatives first, or just whole positives?
Yeah, let's go negatives
first. That was a negative. They got the first one, but negative is Jared Healy, and he's constantly crapping on about Lachie Neal before the bounce. Yeah, after the first clearance, fair enough. George went our way, Lachie went their way. The ball just bounced through to him. I think it went between Powell and maybe Dunkley, and it just sat up to Neal. Like, that's just footy sometimes. If it goes the other way, we'll be saying, oh, look at George streaming into forward 50, kicking it to Lachie, running at the goals. But that's just unlucky, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think.
Some more negatives, like Luke Parker and Constanti both had shots 35 out, kicked them both out in the full.
Both out in the full. So we've kicked one straight, but we've kicked 1 and 2 out in the full. I think there might have been the third one as well, maybe.
Yeah, I had it here somewhere. Oh, George Wardlaw.
Yes.
Broke through.
You can see what he's trying to do,
yeah,
but he did have probably Larky telling him about it, and he's thinking, oh, what'll I do? But I mean, if he kicks the banana and it goes, he just got it on the wrong side of it, didn't he? Or something.
I reckon he was probably shocked that Larky wasn't run to the goal square, saying.
Well, I think the fact that he didn't know what to do, that put him off a bit. Maybe he should have just said, "Yeah, it's mine," and slot it through. But anyway, he had a. We're still in negatives, aren't we?
Yeah, the shush man Constanti had another poor moment. I thought he bounced back after the first quarter pretty well, but he needed to give quick hands, and he tried to do too much, and that's when Clarko dropped about 15 expletives and was not happy.
Yeah, he tried to fake the handball, didn't he?
Yeah.
And you just got to give that off first. That's what I've written down there, because you're not
playing VFL, son. You're playing the reigning premiers.
Yeah,
so
you're not Lindsay Thomas.
Yeah.
Doing a little drop step or whatever, and then you just got to give it off.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Right, let's get to some positives, because outside of the first 2 minutes, it was a great quarter. We just needed to capitalise on a few more entries and too many long bombs, which is another one, a quick negative touch on our entries inside 50 all game were deplorable. But let's talk about some positives. Toby Pink came off perfectly about 5 minutes into the first quarter, timed it really well, and was clean below his knees as well, which has not always been the case for our key defenders in the last probably 4 years.
Yeah, it was a good spoil, wasn't it? Yeah.
And then there was great aggressive hands through the corridor, like LDU to Colby to Caleb Daniel. Caleb Daniel, I thought he had a fantastic first quarter.
Yeah, it was great.
Really influential, and then he did nothing for the rest of the game. So we'll get to him a bit later.
He was hitting his targets really well and coming off at the right time, I think. I think that, just on the whole quarter, the defence was actually pretty good. There's a couple of mistakes I hadn't mentioned yet, but the 4v2 Rainer goal I put up on the chat, that was the only goal they got, I think, wasn't it, that quarter?
Outside of the first 25 seconds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the only other one. I watched it today and you see there's a 4-on-2 and Daniel's one of the two. And then the guy just gives Daniel a check and Rainer's there. And I don't know where the rest of our defenders are. That's just something that the defensive coach will have to have a good look at anyway. I know I'm meant to be on the positives. I couldn't let that one get through to the keeper.
Well, I've actually got one more negative, and it's a bit of a positive because he's so good, but too often our players panic in the back line and just handball it to Harry when he's not in position. He ends up dump kicking it.
Yeah, it's easy to bag him, but I think they're giving.
I don't think it's his fault. I think he's not calling
he's obviously
for
not going to. No, I don't want it, and put his hands away if he's there. Like sometimes he might run to the wrong spot, but you think most of the time they're too Harry conscious. And they've got some other good kicks down there, like Hardeman if he can get free. He's not to the level yet, and even Chom wasn't too bad yesterday.
Yeah,
I still have my heart in my mouth a bit,
especially late. Yeah. Good on him. But yeah, let's touch on his first quarter because he was awesome and back to his best form, intercepting. Leading the defence back there, as we said, and to only concede 2 goals after the start that was a really good effort.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, anything else for the first quarter?
Well, I thought the mids were getting some pretty good transitions through the middle. It was just that last kick, we say that probably a lot, but they were trying to run it through, and they're being fairly positive, I thought. And just the last kick it's on 50, sometimes a bit scrappy or too long, or the forwards, and we get to Larky, probably at some stage not always lead him, but sometimes it is just a bit of a panic kick when they've probably got more time, or use the extra runner sometimes.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And it was a more deliberate approach, wasn't it? Like we were trying to use those short kicks, and it was working so well until that explosion comes post centre, and we just bombed it or burned by poor use. So, in the second quarter, what a great start. Colby, a classy finish. That's what we know he can do. And I thought he only had 13 disposals yesterday, but I thought every time he touched it, something good happened yesterday.
Yeah, especially his first half and probably particularly second quarter. He probably dropped out a bit, but he's still learning that half-forward flanker death zone, a bit like Zane is as well, and at times Constanti, I suppose, is the pocket. But I think good thing with that goal, after re-watching it, he actually pressured the guy that was kicking it. Then Larky smothered it. Then Colby ran on and had options. He said, no, I can do this. And that's what you want to see, someone that's 40 out and think, I can nail this kick. You don't have to chip it sideways because you're a bit scared. So the fact that he started that with a pressure act, which he may not have done even a few weeks ago, you think, I'll stay in the moment and pressure the Lions player. Not sure who it was.
Yeah, I can't think either, but it's just great reward for the defensive side of his game, and
he's obviously got a lot of work still to go. And Zane has too. I think a lot of time he's just coasting after players, and when they're running the other way, they just I'll run, but do you really hunting them? Yeah, that's what I like to see them.
And George Wardlaw, what a goal for him! Snap on the run, really lifted the side and.
Well, that was after he went up for the big specky.
Yeah,
nearly clanked back too. Then he after the clearance, I think the big the zoo fed it out to him, and that was a great snap by George. He was on fire, and he just on him. He doesn't have to have a lot of possessions. He just, I think even Healy called it a bit like Shimmerbush for those. Maybe he just lifts the team because of his effort, and George is obviously probably stronger than Shimmer was. But he's just even as a ground ball, and most players will just let's just lie on it and. From both teams, and I'll get a stoppage. He said, no, I can get this, and he just stands up and shoots a handball out. That's just something that I don't know many other players in the league probably do that sort of thing. No. He's definitely a unique unit, and just has a bit of disposal issues at times, but when he hits those couple of ones into the guts, they were league leading type of kicks, weren't they? I thought. Yeah.
And he's one in the first quarter, I forgot to mention, where he hit Zerha. It was a perfect touch kick off the side of his boot.
Yeah, it was a deliberate one.
Oh, it's there.
Very clever. Yeah. But the good thing, he also had the vision. He had a couple of options. I'll pick the guy that's in the best position to kick a goal. He might have had Darling on the other side, who was also open. The whole three forwards were actually like a triangle. They actually kept separated, not all standing on top of each other. Yeah. Which is good to see. You know where Larky was. In the square. No, it was fine. It was the right time to be in the square then.
I thought Riley Hardiman had a really good quarter. Defensive efforts. He's growing before our eyes. He's just a set and forget for now for mine.
Yeah.
Such a composed player. He's defensive. You can see what happens when you play a halfback defender in defence, not a midfielder trying to learn the traits. Yeah. He's got those defensive
He had some good spoilers
traits.
and 2-on-1s, and that he's probably got some work when you see down the goals, behind the goals footage, a couple of he's probably caught out of position, but I think that takes a lot of games. That's the sort of thing they probably don't get on top of till 50, 60 games like the Sabres. You just get caught out for 5 seconds, suddenly your opponent's, he might be cheating downhill scheme, but sometimes you just got to, it's a lot to learn that we sort of don't know about really. Yeah. Any guess?
Any other positives before we move on to negatives in the second?
Chom took some couple of good marks again, and his tack on I've put on the area contest is fantastic. Like that's the Chom you want to see, just flying for those marks. Quite often doesn't land that well. It looks a bit uncomfortable, but that's really unsettles the opposition, I think, too. It puts them a bit off their game. So a lot of them he's going up and there's no one sort of with him, but he's just, they're a bit scared of him, I think, the big fella.
Yeah. I think there's 2 players for North that they're a bit scared of, but the other one we'll touch on a bit later on. Yeah. Negatives. I have seen the worst non-deliberate call ever. Eric Hipwood could not have tried harder to get it over the line, and they've not paid it.
The fact that he did it under his body backwards, and it wasn't even up the line. It was actually, this is like, there's someone on the fence, you can have it. And that was a shocker. That
was horrendous. But we were our worst enemy at times. I thought Nick Larkey got outmarked way too often in that second quarter.
Yeah, outmarked again by Payne. You've got to try and halve it. Like, Payne's obviously a big guy, but Larkey's got to get on his bike a bit more, I think. And if it comes to him, they've just got to bump into him fairly and just get it down.
But our entries inside 50 were woeful. Not having the ability to hit up the lead and just to bomb it long to Harris Andrews. Like, I can understand a little bit why Larky's always running back, because we're used to it, because we just bomb it. There's no lowering of the eyes. There's no...
Yeah, there was a bad one there with LDU on the wing. I think he kicked long to Zoo and Larky, but they were both running away. So maybe one of them should have... the good teams will have one come up, one go back. And hopefully, but LDU probably was a bit caught, and it's kick it towards Zerho, should have kicked it towards Larky. But I think Andrews is the one that outmarked Zerho. I mean, he's like 10 centimetres taller than him at least, isn't he?
Yeah.
And had to sit.
But really frustrating watching the two of them, and particularly Nick Larky just running back. He needs to hit up more. It has to be a directive, you'd think, because he's got natural forward craft. And we've seen in the past that he hits up at the ball, but this year and a bit of last year crept into his game as well. He's not... the big chief sent me a message today and said he's not Sorv, he's Joe. Joe the Goose. That's all he's looking for, is the easy ones out
Josh
the back.
Jenkins, he was that, didn't he? Stand in the square and get one. Well, that brings me to that other screenshot I put up there before, like with when they walked it up the other end pretty easy. I think it was actually after that LDU kick. So we potentially could have been kicking for goal, and they transitioned. Andrews passed it up, and they transitioned to the other end. You think, Hipwood's in the square. And it looks like on telly he's been just standing there, but he actually ran from outside 50, and we were outnumbered really badly. But the one I put that down to was probably Bailey and half back. He just walked through George and Harry, which sounds easy. We went through both of them. Suddenly the whole ground opened up, and yet Pink had probably a bad one-on-one where he probably didn't body enough. Sherry had to go and cover for someone because he was down there with the big O. And he had to leave and try and pressure. And then Chom did the same. Then Chom did a pretty poor effort for him. He had a great game, but he just sort of think, I'll try and bump. He should have got up and tried to smother the handball. So that was their first goal of the quarter. Then they got on a bit of a roll. Well, that's that killer where we should be shooting for goal, and then if they did, as the good teams do, a quick slingshot to the other end, quick transition.
Yeah, 100%. And Aiden Core, not a bad game, but he had one moment where he's way too far off Cam Rayner, I think was his direct opponent. But he did a great job, and the defenders collectively on Charlie Cameron. Like, to keep him as pretty much no impact, he kicked that one goal where both players went to the ball, which drives me nuts.
That's the one for
which is a bit later on.
The third quarter, isn't it?
Oh my God,
that was terrible.
But overall, like, he's a player who's torched us in the past. We kept him really quiet. And the whole forward line, like Lohman didn't do much. Zach Bailey, who you just mentioned, he didn't do much. We kept Neil quiet as well, through Parker, Powell and George.
Much to Healy's disgust after mentioning him about 40 times.
Here's a little segue to grind my gears, because he's the worst commentator in football. All he wants to do is everything has to be a free kick to the opposition against us, and he wants every rule changed, and... He talked about Lockie Neal like he'd had 45 disposals. Yeah,
he said it. I think LDU, when they sort of half don't really take them on, one of his hands is free. That's a hold in the ball. They don't pay that anymore, do they? Unless you're really obvious. Yeah, he's just got it in for us, I think.
Yeah, he's
still dirty about 96. He wasn't playing, but
he's terrible to listen to. Right, let's get into the third quarter. So it was the good and the bad. So George had some great use to start. Jai Simpkin also had a great kick inside 50, and then 2 minutes later, another opportunity and absolutely shanked it. So it's hard with Jai because you can see flashes of his best footy, but then he lets himself down at times as well.
He actually had a pretty good third quarter. He had the usual Jai moments, I suppose, but at half time he'd only had 5, but he mostly playing flank, I think, wasn't he? Then they did swing it around and he played more midfield, and he was actually it was impacting, which is good. It's good that they changed it up a little bit to try and get a different mix, I think.
Yeah, and I've just checked my notes, and it was Aiden Core who left Charlie Cameron for that goal. Yeah. So he just had to... We have to get to a position as a team where we trust our teammates. And that just made it too easy, I think.
It was Daniel was out there with him, and he also sort of half cleaned up Daniel at the same time. So he had to go off the blood for a little while, didn't he? But if you're going to impact... if it was me, I'd stay with Cameron. The other guy's not going to kick it from 50 on the boundary, but Cameron will kick it from anywhere, basically, wouldn't he? That's not his first offence for that one this year, that's for sure.
Well, there was a lot of raised eyebrows when he came in, but just while we're talking about blood rules, obviously the incident with Luke McDonald. David Zeta could not have pushed harder for that to be 3 weeks. But I did see before prior to recording that nothing. He's been cleared.
Yeah, it was a Zeta. Obviously hasn't played contact sport before. It was Lil Mac just didn't bump him. He's just instant second. He's just a head clash. Like, you don't deliberately hit someone with your own head, do you?
Yeah, and it's funny how the Zach Merritt one was an accidental footy incident and not Paul Curtis's. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that another time because my head will blow
Paul
off.
Curtis tax is going to be savage over the years, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But we saw better chains of football, and I think LDU, although he butchered the ball early, his burst and ball-winning ability, he was awesome, particularly in that third quarter.
Yeah, he's awesome to watch. And it was when out on the boundary, I think, he ran in the big arc, wasn't it? You think, he's going to get rid of him, and he just suddenly pulls away from people. It's certainly unique in that way.
Right, let's dial in. Nick Larkey had some shocking misses. He's the vice-captain of this footy club.
Yeah.
He's in his own head. He's out of form, and he seems hesitant to actually take the moment now. I think he's gun-shy because of his bad misses. And we had some really poor misses in that game. He actually kicked the harder one on the right side a bit later on.
Yeah.
But Zane Dersmer as well. Like, he's usually a great kick for goal. He had 2 bad misses and didn't do a whole great deal on the day either. So it just comes back to haunt you in a draw.
Yeah. Some other bad, but they had a lot of fumbles at stoppages too, I think, in that quarter. Like, we were sort of getting on top, but we weren't taking advantage because I think they might have mentioned in the commentary as well, but you could see it. They just, one grab, 2 grab, and it just, you lose that second of breaking clear, I think.
I thought
which they can tidy that up. They can all, everyone fumbles a bit, but they just need to tidy it up a bit more.
Yeah, I thought Charlie Comben and Riley Hardiman were massive in that third quarter as well. Well, they pretty much were.
Hardiman took a couple of good marks, and that's Stevens. We're on the positives. Doesn't matter. Yeah, Stevens had a good soccer goalkeeping one. Like, that saved a goal. He's just had the awareness to park yourself on the goal line because the defenders are all busy. Certainly working his way. His first half was really good, Stevens. He dropped off a bit in the second, but I thought he was the best winger again. Yeah, for us, I mean.
He's been great this year. He's arrived, and it just shows that sometimes it takes a while for talent to click, and we knew that he was a high draft pick and had promise. And nobody had him, I don't reckon, in their best 23s, but he's a lock now.
Yeah. Another one to bash Fox footy too, that we missed a stoppage because they're showing a replay of the Big Bash.
Yeah.
That's probably funny, but I want to see why. Sherry got a free kick, of course, but I think. But you can't do that in the middle of the play.
Oh, no.
The stoppages don't take very long, 4 or 5 seconds.
Oh, it's crazy. Right, let's have a look at the last quarter. So I thought it was the best I've seen us this year in terms of ball hunting and intent. Like, Brisbane was second guessing. We were hunting in packs. We were on. They didn't show the pressure rating that quarter, but I reckon it was through the roof because whatever Clarko said to him at 3/4 time, the boys came out sniffing the opportunity for a huge scalp. We defended great. LDU was lowering his eyes. Parker had a great tackle and a goal. The intent was awesome. The big shush man kicked one.
Yes.
To get us in front, I think. And Jack Darling, I was at 3/4 time. I had him lining up
delisted
at Arden Street next week.
But to be fair though, like, neither him or Finn had done much. Like, it's only his second game. He wasn't really affecting, and that's a tough defence to come into. But to Darling's credit, he stood up when he needed to, took that great contested mark, covered the hole for the chest mark in front of Andrews, who tried to claim it for himself. Yeah. Try to take it out of him, and that 10 metres out, you still got to kick the goal. Then you kicked another one 5 minutes later off the Zerha, went for another big specky, which is good because we got the ball to ground. Then I think he had the presence to get up and do a little. Zerha tried to kick it again, then Darling runs onto it. So 2 goals from nothing really there for JD.
That's just experience.
And they had the shot on the boundary as well, which it wasn't perfect, but that was another really good mark, and that was getting close to the end then, wasn't it? That tied it up, or no, it caught us up. I can't remember, but
I was really frustrated with the kicking in danger free kick against Harry Lake because there was one earlier in the day that didn't go our way, and it's a rule that is
it's really only paid if the head's close and the hands are clearly in early. I thought the hands, if they were in, they were only just in before, and he didn't launch at it. He's trying to just kick it out of that area a bit like he did with the Freo, a bit different, but he wasn't like launching into it like with the follow through is going to take someone's head off. That's the ones they normally pay.
Yeah, it was really frustrating.
That's the game. You could say that. We did get a couple of frees we shouldn't have, but they, as usual, they get the really ones, the ones we didn't get, like the out of bounds and that Harry one.
They get the ones 25
Yeah,
out. That's the frustrating thing. But I suppose I want to touch on. Have you got any other negatives? I want to touch on a big positive from that quarter.
Everyone's probably seen it, but the scores were tied at 70 and Chom to Daniels. Probably Daniels called for it. It's the wrong one. It put him on the inside. Then he did that like a mongrel torp out of the defence. Like, I don't think they scored. Oh, they did actually. They got it back and Andrews kicked the point. Andrews. What's his name? Hipwood, sorry. Andrews didn't kick a point, but he kicked that point that put them in front. So that one play from Daniel wasn't great. Like, it wasn't the right option.
No.
Yeah. You run to the outside of Chom, then you can hopefully straighten up or just let Chom kick it. Because the scores are tied. I mean, obviously you want to win, but you don't want to just give it back to the opposition either. But all in all, I thought we battled pretty well that quarter. There was a few shaky moments, but they certainly didn't go into the shells like they have other games. I don't think.
Like the last quarter of Big X and Chom.
Yeah.
Like, Big X, that's one of the best individual performances I've seen. He nearly willed us over the line. He was huge in the centre. Really solidified himself that he's back to his All-Australian form. He's second in the coaches' votes now, AFL-wide. His champion data ratings were through the roof. He was huge. He absolutely gave Oscar McInerney a bath. And whatever little niggle he had there, he looks like he's well past it now.
Yeah, he's definitely seems a lot fitter
best.
And he's running a lot better. It's obviously he's carrying something before, but commentators seemed a bit baffled. One of them was probably Healy. He said, McInerney's got a lift, mate. McInerney's not in his league.
No.
So I don't know who he was watching last year. Like, McInerney's okay.
He's a
battler.
He wouldn't be in the top 10 right?
No.
So,
sure, that's just the right way he plays, but some of his clearances you think, he probably could have handled, but it's pretty hard to be, you're not going to go at 100% playing that role. Sometimes you're going to do a dump kick and it doesn't work, but then you can give it to an on-baller, and I do the same thing. Or you'll do, you would try and hit the clouds or something, won't you? So.
And then the other man who had a monster last quarter was Charlie Comben.
Yeah.
He was huge, intercepting everything. And I love the fact, I was so happy to hear this post-game reiterated by Jai, but they were all in on the win.
Yeah.
That last switch play...
That was fantastic. The idea to do it was the previous play, they hadn't done it, had they? It went straight up and it came back to him again, and Chom thought, nah, I'll do it myself. And it didn't work out quite right, but it was the right play, though.
It was, and Constanti had to give the hands
had to give it to
Disco.
Stevens with these 10 metres in front and a more penetrating kick, and he probably had the time to. And realistically, if you can get it 10 or 15 out, even if you get a stoppage, you'd back X, but you can knock it behind through there as the offensive team. You can just do whatever you want to score.
So a draw in the end in a game where we were clearly the better team. Like, we were plus 15 clearances against the number one clearance side in the comp and one of the best midfields, the reigning premiers. So the improvement's there.
Yeah, the only unfortunate thing is we've got a bad habit of not getting returns from our clearance of domination enough, do we?
Well, it's because of the poor use inside 50. That's as simple as that. Like, if we...
I think Simpkin had one in the last. We had a 3 or 4 seconds. You just skied it, and I think whoever the halfback line, they marked it, and they ended up scoring them, I think, from that maybe. That should have been he did a snap, should have been drop punt, even if it goes towards the boundary for a reset or something, but that's a bit of one of Jai's areas he needs to improve on if he can. I know it's hard on the left foot, but the good teams do it better, don't they? That's what we've got to just improve that efficiency.
And it's imperative we have to win against Richmond this week, because they need, as David Noble used to say, the nourishment from winning, and it's been a great last month. So
Richmond's going to crack in.
We just
fall
need to
asleep
win.
against them. They'll make us look silly, even though they're a low team as well. They've got 3 wins. We've got 1.5.
Yeah, you've just got to win.
It's got danger written all over it for me.
It does.
But if we can keep playing like we have, we can beat them, and we should be competitive against Collingwood. I know Collingwood, when they're on, they're awesome. But if we bring that sort of pressure and heat, we can match it. They've just got to keep doing it for 4 quarters, and hopefully they'll get the reward.
Yeah, 100%.
The only other bad one I'd have to point out, even though X was best on ground, that handball to 3 players was behind Simpkin. It wasn't great. Then Wardlaw also had to go and took a double fumble. And then when he kicked it up, he kicked it to Harris Andrews.
Yeah.
That was probably one of our other last plays, but that's just not quite clean enough by either of them, all 3 of them, really.
Right, let's get into the most prestigious award in all of football, the Ryan Bastinac Player of the Year award, and it was the Ryan Bastinac Cup on the weekend, North versus Brisbane. He put some good content up for the Brews with Basti Player of the Year award, and funnily enough, the man who's got 10 votes from us won the BWB award from Basti, Tristan Sherry. We both gave 5 to. I mean, we've spoken at length about his game, but monstered Oscar McInerney. He was clearly best on ground. He got the 10 coaches' votes, and one of the best.
Which is good to see,
individual
because when he plays well and we lose, and it's hard to get the 10 when other teams might win his position, but other teams are having more influence. So it was good to see, and he played the whole last quarter, didn't he?
He didn't go off.
The commentators seem 2 minutes to go. Sure, he hasn't been off. He's not going off now. He put JD in the ruck in the last. It's just not. They've got no clue. He's got a bit of heart, the big fella.
He does.
A lot of heart.
He battled it out, and he was, best on ground, as we said. We both gave the 4 votes to Charlie Comben. 21 disposals, 9 marks, 12 intercept possessions. He was brilliant.
I rewatched it today, skipped through bits, but on the rewatch, I was even more impressed with what he did. Because some of those, wasn't like his marks were sideways chips from Daniel, just to pad the stats. So basically, a lot of intercepts or contested marks. And some good spoils as well, for that matter.
Yeah, I will say that we both had the same votes for the listeners out there. It just happens sometimes.
It just happened.
The 3 votes we both gave to Luke Parker. He was awesome again. 23 disposals, 8 tackles, 8 clearances, and a goal. Really
he had
good game
one
from him.
shanked out in the full, but that was after he got crunched, wasn't it? So whether that affected his kick. But
he
he also hit the post.
Up.
So he's almost mid-20 game and 2 goals. Wow, that's leading type stuff, isn't it, really?
Yeah. We both gave the 2 votes to Luke Davies-Uniacke. 32 disposals. He was massive. The 5 clearances, 565 metres gained. He was setting us up in the midfield, and a brilliant game from him. And we both gave the 1 to Harry Sheasel. 29 disposals at 79%. He had 6 score involvements, Kane, as well as 445 metres gained, and just really solid back there. Some of the players I thought...
LDU, I probably only put him behind because he probably just, his disposal was a bit off compared to Parker's. I mean, it's, X's and O's are hard to tell sometimes, but and George was probably a bit unlucky for mine, but he probably just didn't finish the second half off as well, and he's the same, his disposal at times.
I thought a couple...
It was a bit rushed at times when he had time. But he'll get better at that, though.
A couple that were unlucky for me as well. I thought, I agree with George, but I think Dylan Stevens was very close, and I thought Cam...
I thought Cam was good. I was a bit hard on him on the notes originally, but on the rewatch, he was actually pretty good. He had a shocking kick, I think, inside 50. It went out of bounds. But, I mean, not many go at 100%. So I thought he was pretty intense all day and took some really good marks too, provided the contest.
Yeah. Since that Good Friday game, he's been probably our best forward as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
and we needed him to step up with PC gone, but he has, I think.
Yes.
I've been pretty critical, but you've got to give him his plaudits when he deserves them. That's for sure. And Jai's second half was pretty good too. Had a few bad moments, but we mentioned Daniel before, his first quarter and a bit.
Let's have a look at the leaderboard. So in first place, Tristan Sherry on 46 votes, followed by Luke Parker on 35, Paul Curtis on 27, Harry Sheasel on 25, and to round out the top 5, there's a tie between LDU and Jai on 19 votes. So that's the good. That's where you want to be as a player. This, not so much. Let's get into the watch list. Last time I'm in control of it because the big chief will be back next week to sink his teeth into it. But one addition this week, Nick Larkey. Oh, he's just got to go on. He's not leading and he's kicking.
He's not playing
horrendous.
to the level we or the fans expect him to be.
No,
I don't think.
I don't think he's playing at the level he expects either.
No, exactly right.
So the first man on the watch list is Bailey Scott. He's getting another cross. I think he had 1 disposal.
Yeah, he had a couple of chases and stuff, but he didn't impact.
No. Clarko, he's getting a big tick, and he's off the watch list now, first graduate. He's angry again, and he's got the group humming, and I haven't seen his presser yet.
No, neither have I.
But as long as he doesn't say they're a good side, which actually he can say that because they are a good
reigning
side.
premiers. Look, we hate ties, but it's better draws. But it's better than 1 point loss. So I was a bit better last night after watching it for a while. I don't know how he would have been straight after it, but
so he's
Dancing
off
with his sister, whatever they call it.
Yeah, he's off the watch list, Clarko. So First one off, Griffin Logue played VFL again. I didn't catch much
I
of
didn't see
VFL.
much of it at all. You can't really get off it in that anyway, can you?
No. Caleb Daniel, I think he's getting across. He had a great first quarter, didn't do enough, and he's panicking too much with the football. We brought him in to be a general across halfback and safe and provide leadership in those type of moments, and he's just panicking. Colby, I think, a tick. Score involvements were up. I thought he did a lot better. That was probably the best game he's played in a month. Darcy Tucker, well, he played VFL, probably had 50 again. He seems to rack it up in the twos.
I don't know if he did. I can't remember. Can't remember the stats. And
No.
I looked at the stats. I watched a little bit, but I don't know.
I can't remember either. All I know is that the shotgun
got
didn't
flogged,
kick
didn't
three
he?
because I would have been... No, we were down like 50 and then came back to
back
a
a bit,
25-point loss or something.
Having
Jai,
the extra 3 or 4 players out hurts us, doesn't it? Because there's a couple other injuries because Teakle's out as well, isn't he?
yeah. And then Jai, I'm going to give a dash. Some good, some bad. Bit hard to judge his game.
Well, it's hard when you're playing some of it half forward, but he was. Yeah, I'd give him a dash, I think.
Right, so let's get into episode 112, our favourite number 12. We've both got the same here, and I reckon he'd be top 10 favourite players of all time for me, and it's Lindsay Thomas. I mean, I was one of the biggest Lindsay defenders. I loved him, loved the way he played. Yes, he used to try and get free kicks, but it was no different to what Selwood and co were doing. He was such a huge talent. We haven't had a small forward like him since. I mean, Paul Curtis is starting to show a bit of that, but I don't know if he's a proper small forward.
No.
So he was an incredible talent, kicked bags for fun, had the yips for a while, and then became a really reliable
Even when he got
shot
out of
again.
them, they were still talking about it 2 years later.
I'll
He
tell
had
you
the yips back in 20, whenever it was, 13. They
Tell you
kept
what,
talking.
they might be saying that about N. Larky
Yeah,
in
it was-
2025, the way he's going.
He had a couple of shockers in the third, didn't he?
Yeah. So, Lindsay's my favourite. He kicked 60 goals one year, I think.
Yeah,
or high
just
50s.
over 50, yeah. I think he got shafted by the guy for Port Adelaide.
Robbie Gray.
No, the other Indigenous boy, I think, got the... I've forgotten his name. He got the All-Australian.
From Port.
He went to... Did he go to Hawthorn or something? I've forgotten his name. Doesn't matter. It'll come to me next week sometime, like all those things do.
Oh, Eddie Betts would have been in there too.
Because the
no
South
doubt.
Australian media would have pumped him up. Yeah, he had a good year. I just forgot names that passing me at the moment.
Just add him to
Bit
the
of
list
tax.
with Cunnington
Yeah.
and Brown and co. Robbie Tarrant. So he's probably my favourite. I mean, not many others I've seen in the number 12 that have dominated. Obviously, our captain now wears 12, and Big Chief's favourite number 12 would be...
I think it's Bruce Abernathy, isn't it? Yeah.
Now,
The watch list.
yeah, well,
No.
for those at home, he stuffed up and said Bruce was his favourite number 5, but that was the number he wore for Collingwood.
Yeah.
He wore 12 for North, so a bit of a
We
laugh
also
at his
had
expense.
to pick from that played a reasonable enough games that we've watched would be obviously be Jai, and then for the older listeners be Johnny Blakey. Other than that, most of them only played a handful of games. Steve-O's brother, Michael, he played a few.
Yep. Right, let's get into our listener questions. Thank you very much to everyone for bombarding the DMs again. We love, this is my favourite part of the pod, interacting with you guys. Let's start with Dave OC, who says, Hardiman and Stevens, lock them in for the season, ? I think yes.
Agree.
Yeah, you'd be...
Unless there's a massive turn of form, which hopefully doesn't happen. But especially Hardiman, like second year, he's got to have a bit of a... You got to give him a few, chances, I think, anyway. And you've got to have someone pushing him out as well.
Exactly, which is not happening.
No.
Billy Lynch, LDU showed his worth. The big contract just needs to show that more consistently. Completely agree.
Yeah.
Been down the last little while since he probably signed the contract, but he was back.
This was back on the way. If only that he burst through 50 and missed the goal by about a couple of metres in the last quarter, and that would have been awesome if that had gone in. That's what we like to see. They're having some pings from 50 instead of trying to spot someone up.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Interesting one here from literally_Grantos. What do we do with Dersma? I think he might be a draft miss. Well, I think it's important to remember that he had an interrupted pre-season. He's shown flashes, like he kicked that clutch goal in the last quarter against Essendon. And he's also, a lot of the people in his draft class playing midfield looking great. He's playing that hard sort of half forward, third, fourth tall. He's not. His game
tough,
yesterday
yeah.
was pretty poor.
Yeah, and he had 2 gettable shots. I mean, you're not going to go 2-0 every week, but he missed them both fairly badly too, wasn't it? They weren't even close. They sort of sprayed fairly badly, but
I mean, he kicks both of those, and we're saying he's a star.
Until someone pushes him out, I don't know. And obviously, like most of the top 10 picks, they haven't got the defensive in their system. It's got to be drilled into them, doesn't it?
And there's a lot of questions here about Zane and his development. So I think it's a discussion we'll definitely be having come season's end. It's unfortunate that his pre-season was so interrupted with injury, and I think
he's got to have that done again.
He's carrying a bit of
he's carrying a shoulder, but they can redo it at the end of the year or something.
That's right. I did read that. So yeah, he's a hard one to judge, and it's also only his second year. I think he'll make it. I think he'll be a great talent. So I'm backing him in big time. Matt the Guy Nelson, when the game was on the line, it was left to only a few. Where were Tom Powell and Bailey Scott? They went missing. Well, Scott did nothing all game again. Tommy Powell,
I can't remember. Yeah, sometimes it's just you're not in the right spot. I think he played more flank in the forward flank, and they didn't have him in the middle in the last quarter too much. They put the main men in there. Obviously, you had George and Parker and LDU, and then probably Jai. So maybe he took Jai's spot flank pushing up as a midfielder, which I think it's hard for a lot of players to adjust to. Parker can do it really well when he's flanked to know the right positions to go when you come up, but it's a new role for some of them to learn, and Powell would be in that group as well to learn how to get involved as a flanker.
Yeah, it'd
be worth throwing off half back, I think, occasionally.
Well, we saw it last year, and he was good. He was having high 30s, and his defensive work was pretty good. And he's not that 175 size. Like, he's a decent enough size. He's a good user. He can create run, and he's a great handballer too, which is important from that position. So I'd like to see a bit more of that as well. I mean, that's the problem. We've got so many midfielders, but I think out of all of them, I think Powell would be the best off half back. I think he'd be really good there, and we could have him and Hardiman potentially if we were to say move on from Caleb Daniel and give him a spell, which the club probably
I don't think that'll happen yet. Regardless of the draft they gave away, they still have him in their team for now. Because who do you bring in for him? You could maybe try Fisher, I suppose. He's no better at defending. He's a bit quicker though, isn't he? He's a lot quicker.
Yeah. Terrain 07. Was it reasonable to wear my scarf to work today, Baz? It's getting dusty. Yeah, we'll dust it off for next week.
Just on one side?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
That doesn't matter. Be proud.
Be proud. Look, going in, I don't reckon anyone thought... I reckon people thought if we got within 5 goals, it would be a good performance.
Which is unfortunate. Hopefully the supporters and definitely the players' mindset's not... thinking, I hope we keep it within something. We're just thinking, that's like another first take thing when you see first crack and they put up the 8. And we've got to wait for page 2, when they put up 9 to 18, whereas down the bottom. But when I looked at it though, it's not as, that's why they say it's an easy, it can turn quickly, because I think the Giants are 8th and they've got 5 wins. We've got 1.5. Probably should have beat Essendon. Even if we just took that game, that's 2.5. We're only 2.5 games out of the 8. It seems impossible. So if we can suddenly win 3, you're only half a game out, like where St Kilda and all those teams. We've just got to, make sure we roll Richmond, West Coast, and probably. Why can't we beat Freo?
Exactly.
Just because it's over there. They're not performing.
Why can't we beat Collingwood?
Yeah. And hopefully that's the mindset they're going in. They're starting to believe they can do it now. They just need the reward, as they say, the nourishment. Yeah.
Well, I think you get a couple of wins together and you get on a really big roll. I mean...
And it's no surprise that since George has come back, it seems to have... Don't know what it is. Maybe the players just love playing with him, but there's a collective lift since that game we don't want to talk about on Good Friday.
He's a Tassie boy, you know that?
Who?
George.
Is he?
That's what Kelly Underwood said in the pre-game.
Okay.
Tassie boy, George Wardlaw. Yeah, I thought that's well. I'll happily adopt him.
not the team here have him, but as Tasmanians will have him.
Yeah.
No, God, if he was from Tasmania, they'd be all over him. They've signed him up already.
Yeah. Where are we now? I've got confused.
Yeah, well, I've just thrown you out by talking about...
Dave said Hardiman just looks a 200-game player. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Oh, that's where I was going to go. With it can build quickly. We tend to think that this is Clarko's second real year because of the interrupted first year. what they did at Hawthorn, though, I think they won 6 out of their last 8 at the back end that year. So it really grew quick. So I think we could see something similar happen with this side.
We need to.
We've seen the backed up 3 weeks in a row. I mean, 9 points, 3 points, and a draw. We have to win next week, or it'll be. You feel the players will be deflated and back to stage 1 almost.
Yeah, definitely. They can't step backwards now.
No, I
It has to
agree.
be just keep pushing.
Has _ MMA says a great point about Bailey Scott as a sub. We need an impact player more than a workhorse, and he's named Eddie Ford, Geordie Payne, and Harvey as someone who could come on.
Definitely, I'd be looking at Payne because he's probably not going to impact for 4 quarters, because he plays a bit like JK. Probably doesn't have the. JK's got a bit of polish. I think we haven't seen enough of anything of Payne really at all. Seen a bit of VFL, but someone to come on and just put relentless pressure in the forward or front half of the ground. I don't mind that. And probably crafty enough to hopefully snag a goal. I'd love for him to have been the sub really, but then you want him to play the full game.
Yeah.
Let's just get rid of the sub rule and play 5.
Could not agree more.
I don't know if we've spoken about that before, but it drives me nuts.
Russo, a funny, timely one here. Get Clarko off the watch list. Well, he's got the 3
happened,
ticks. He's off. Daniel Pell goes along the same line of thought as you, saying here that we need to win 3 out of our next 4 against Richmond, Collingwood, West Coast and Fremantle, who they're not flying at all.
No.
And that will show that we're on the right path. We have to be competitive in all the games. That's the bare minimum. I mean, we have to win. We have to beat Richmond. We have to beat West Coast, but the other 2...
And West Coast will be trying to get up and about for that. We're going over to there, even though it's a new ground. Like they're going to be up and about for that. Harley will probably have a try, for a change.
Yeah. Old school Jock. Do you feel we've settled in our best defensive players now with those who played today? Obviously,
maybe.
he's put brackets minus Archer, who's out, but
I think Pink's still a bit shaky at times, but I think he deserves a run. I'd just keep him in over Logue at the moment, and Cal had a couple, probably a bit unlucky, but that Pink's just a bit stronger, but he had a couple of times he's on guys over 200 centimetres, and sometimes you can't be on the lead
I think once we get our defensive system
block right through to the bye.
I think once we get our defensive system right,
it makes everyone improve.
I can see
Whitlock
Whitlock coming in and playing a bit of a Luke Trainer role from Richmond, what he's been able to do. So whether I think it'll probably be the expensive call, really. Pink's more your lockdown, isn't he? Chom can do both, lockdown and intercept, and then...
I think Pink was unlucky. I forgot to mention it. I think they needed another Cameron. They got called for that block. I think did he hold his ground? You're allowed to hold your ground as long as you're trying to mark it. Yeah. So but they didn't show. Of course, they didn't. They probably didn't have another camera in the state, but probably just showing the coaches or something. Yeah, I thought that was a bit unlucky as well. Unless you get a replay on it, you can't really comment that much. Or you can comment, but you're not sure though.
Yeah.
See a lot worse that don't get paid, don't you?
100%. Listen has said, what's happened to Sheasel's running capacity? He jogs around like it's his last year, has lost burst off the mark and keeps getting run down. I thought he may have had osteitis pubis because he looks hurt and hunched over when walking around on the ground. Yeah,
I think he was carrying a bit of something over the season, but he's not going to use that as an excuse. I don't think he gets run down a lot.
He's never been quick.
No, he admits that himself.
He's slow and he can't jump.
Just very quick by mind.
Well, I think he's got the worst vertical at the club.
Yeah, pretty much.
He can't jump.
No.
He's slow and he can't jump, but he's so good because he's a great user and he's so...
He uses his body quite well when he needs to, though, if he's in a marking contest.
But yeah, I think he's definitely not looking like he's running. And that was highlighted by what you mentioned in the match notes where might have been Dunkley ran through he and George.
Yeah.
He just didn't look like he was running at 100%. There's lots of questions here, just to move on quickly, about George Wardlaw being a lock for our next captain. I'll tell you who might be that isn't getting a whole lot of mention, but is there anyone that's come and follow me as much as Big X?
Well, yeah, I wouldn't give it to George. I don't know what people's obsession is. Suddenly, every year there's a new darling to give the captaincy to, because they're like, last year it was Harry.
Yeah.
I think we mentioned that on the other pod, didn't we? Like, now imagine Harry now. Oh, he's 20 and he's got stat padding and all, like the.
He's gone half back.
He's already getting crucified by some certain media people, but I don't mind Jai sticking with it. For now, what's unless X, X would be a good captain though. Follow me, boys.
Yeah,
But, I mean, maybe George later, but why when he's still trying to get him to play more than 6 games in a row?
Exactly.
Let's get through that first.
I wouldn't even consider it until he's
just
23.
let him play footy. I don't know that he'd be that sort of guy that'd want it. Maybe a bit like LDU and Cunners, like be in the leadership group and not be the, I don't know.
Jason Stone here says, best honourable loss we've had this year. Hurts, but geez, some great defensive signs. Safe travels home. You'll have to buy your own cheeseburger. Well, obviously we said we didn't go, but unfortunately, didn't miss out on a cheeseburger because old Nick.
Suv let us down.
Yeah. There's lots of comments here about our mid to forward transition and how much that needs to improve, and I could not agree more. Nathan Granger is the best / most valuable player in the league. Well, he's getting there. He's second in the coaches' vote, so that's always a good indicator. Yep. And he's come from nowhere because I always check it and have a look at the leaderboard, and there's never any NMFC next to any of the players because we're never up there.
No, but all that run of losses, there wasn't much happening, was there?
No.
No, he got some last week against the Bombers, didn't he? I think.
As he should have. He absolutely torched Goldie.
But I think Merritt would have got the 10, I suppose.
Yeah, well, and rightly so, to be honest. And he was the difference in the end. Bo Hawkins, should we persist with Finbar? My opinion is yes. He got Essendon's third best backman and Brisbane's best. Can Larky hit up at the ball? No.
Sometimes. Well, when Parker came out of the middle in one of the quarters, he hit him up. Actually, he hit up on the wing quite well, Larky, a couple of times. Took a couple of been hard on him, but he took a couple of good grabs up on the wing, and he's actually obviously wasn't running away from the ball there.
I think he's around the ground stuff's been as good,
been better than
as any
inside.
years. Yeah, it's just inside 50, and he's not converting like we know he can. So, yeah. As for the Finbar question, I mean, give him a month. I think if you're going to play someone as a debutant, you've got to give him a couple of weeks at least. So, we come up against Richmond this week, MCG.
And he's not going to have the tricks yet to drag Harris Andrews away, and he wouldn't follow him anyway. No. Because they're good defenders that know when to zone and when to defend him. He's a good player, Andrews, or a great player. That's a tough role.
If he's not number one defender in the comp, then he's number two. Like Sam Taylor and Harris Andrews, for me, he's probably the top two.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think Harris Andrews is the best at judging when to go.
Well, Payne got votes too on Larky, didn't he?
We should have.
Yeah, I think he did. He got coaches' votes. Yeah.
And they were saying in the call that he beats him every time.
Yeah.
So a bit of a bogey player for Nick. Although, to be honest, when we play Brisbane, we usually get about 14 inside 50s for the game. So that as well. But, that's about it for the questions. All pretty similar. So we appreciate everyone sending them in. Make sure you're following us on all social media to get yours in. I just want to say that I think there's been a lot of positive signs when it clicks for these young group. And it's such an easy fix because you've just got to lower your eyes a little bit more and have a bit more trust in each other. But, will that turn? Will they make that switch to lower their eyes? We saw it from defensive transition, but kicking inside 50, we need to see a lot more.
Which is probably the hardest thing in the league, isn't it? Because the good teams set up. And sometimes it's a skill error, but sometimes it's the pressure on the kicker as well. Like, it's a bit of everything. But it can. And you're not far off it though.
You're not going to hit them up every single time. No. But it's time.
If you watch other games, you think, these guys are playing like us. Even the good teams will butcher people, kick it over their head by 5 metres. Think, what are you doing?
Talk to any Melbourne supporter. They'll tell you all about it. But and we're also missing our best forward as well. So that never helps either. So. Yes, that's about us. If you're able to, can you please subscribe on whatever listening platform you're using? We want to get to 500 subscribers on YouTube
Come on, guys, get on it.
The mid-season break. I think we're at 390 now, so please subscribe. Let a fellow North fan know about our pod to come and get all things North Melbourne. And just on that, I'll be at the game on Sunday, so if anyone's going to be there, come and say hello, but I'll I'll be up in the members.
Up there.
Up in the members. One of my mates.
Up there with Gil McLaughlin.
Yeah, so one of my mates lives in Adelaide. We're going to meet in Melbourne and go to Adelaide Collingwood on the Saturday and then off to have high tea with Gil
good games,
at North and Richmond on the Sunday, which would be nice. And
should be a decent crowd there.
Oh, there will be. Richmond
Yeah.
actually have been turning
Yeah,
up.
it's good on them for coming up when it's easy to just drop off. They might next year, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, they've been.
No, they'd be
competitive.
probably happy. They're putting in effort, and we've asked for that like a month ago, and we've got that in the last 3 weeks. So hopefully the North supporters will rock up as well.
Yeah, get there. Come and have a beer with me.
Get it like the G was rocking last year when we played Deeds.
Oh, I was at that game.
You were at that.
And
That
that was
sounded so
nuts.
good on telly.
That was 20,000. That sounded
Yeah.
like 80 when Zerha kicked that goal to get us back within 3
Yeah.
with, I don't know, 2 minutes to go, however long it was. But yeah, so come and say g'day and get along to the game, and we'll do a preview pod. But I just thought I'd put that out there that I'll be at the game and
Representing.
yeah. So we're looking forward to that very much. Thanks for joining us, Frog, and we'll
No
definitely
worries. Happy to fill in.
next win. You're coming on. You're
Yep.
going to be on for a
Either
winning
way.
pod.
I'll be here next week then. Hopefully.
Yeah.
when you come back.
Sounds
Please.
good. All right, thanks very much for your support, Shimboners. We'll be back later in the week to preview a really important game against the Tigers. Until then,
Ghana Kangas.
go Roos!
Good old North Melbourne, the champions you'll agree. North Melbourne is the team that plays to win for you and me.